Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Oh, no. We cannot start off with that energy. Good afternoon. You all had lunch, right? So you should be full of energy. Good afternoon. Okay, no. Okay, we need to all stand up. Just for a few seconds, please. Just stand up, okay? Just follow what I do. I promise it will be quick and painless. Okay, clap once. Clap once. Clap twice. Clap thrice. Give the person next to you a high five. All right, are we good to start now? Wonderful. Okay, let's take our seats. Okay, all right. I see some murmuring. I see some conversation starting. The energy's back. Wonderful. Now, good afternoon. Perfect. Thank you all so much for joining us for this session. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this session on Youth Perspectives for Inclusive Agri-Food Systems in Africa. To start off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Janetta Carlucci, and I am a Social Policy Officer responsible for youth employment with the FAO Regional Office for Africa based in Accra, Ghana. And I welcome you all to this plenary session. Thank you for showing up in your numbers. It is very heartening. It means that there's a lot of interest around this topic. There's a lot of interest around the agri-food system sector, and there's a lot of interest around youth engagement in agri-food systems in Africa. So in line with the theme for Youth Connect Summit, which is Jobs for Youth Through Innovative Skilling, today's conversation is really going to bring that topic down into the agri-food sector. What does it mean to give youth skills to succeed today and tomorrow in the agri-food sector? And we're going to be looking at this topic from various perspectives because everybody has a role to play, from academia to government, from development partners to the youth themselves. So we'll be trying to unpack the topic from these different perspectives. So first, we want to start off the session by engaging you. We want to ask you a couple of questions just to test a little bit your knowledge on the sector. Checking in with my production team. Is our poll ready? I want you all to take out your phones, scan the QR code on the screen, and we're just going to answer a couple of questions on Slido. Production team, are we able to pull up the questions? Okay. So the first question. Sometimes integrating tech into your event needs a little bit of patience. Exactly, that one. So, first question. In 2023, and I lost my question again. What was the prevalence of moderate or severe food insecurity in Africa and relative to the global average? Was it the same? Was it double? Or was it triple? Moderate of severe food insecurity in Africa was nearly X the global average. Has everybody sent in the answer? We have a split between the same and the double. Well, everybody who answered the double was correct. So the rate of moderate or severe food insecurity in Africa is double, nearly double the global average. Next question. Okay. By 2023, so that is in roughly 5 years, how many young people are expected to enter the African labor market each year? Okay. Some people know their numbers. I think some people know their numbers. All right. Okay, so all those who answered 30 million were correct. So every year between now and for the next 5 years, we expect 30 million youths to enter the labor market in Africa annually. So that should give us an indication of the scale of the issue that we are trying to address. Last question. This one is very easy. It's a true or false question. So young women tend to be more disadvantaged than young men in access to work and experience worse working conditions than their male counterparts. True or false? All right, I still have answers coming in, but the correct answer is that yes, that statement is true. So young women in general tend to face more limitations or disadvantages in terms of their working experience compared to their male counterparts. Okay, so that was just to kick us off, to already get your minds to wrap around the scale of the issue that we are trying to address, so that you can also relate it more to the discussions that we're about to have here with our esteemed panelists. So without much further ado, we'll proceed straight to that panel discussion, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you the panelists for today. We have, representing the youth, we have two esteemed panelists, one from Kenya, one from Rwanda. And from Kenya, we have Robin Ndungu, who is the co-founder and chief executive officer of Kisumeo Organics. Robin, please join me on stage. We have Ms. Sakina Osenjimana, who is the president of the Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum right here in Rwanda. We have Dr. Ron Rosati, who is the vice chancellor of the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture. And last but not the least, we have Ms. Janet Kemp, who is the UN Women Country Representative for Rwanda. Am I audible? Yes. Thank you so much to all of you for agreeing to join this panel to discuss specifically how we can equip young people with the skills that they need to succeed in the agri-food sector today and tomorrow. So we'll first start off with the young agripreneur on the panel. Robin, yes. So your academic background is in computer science and mathematics. When you studied that, did you have any idea that you were actually going to use that and venture into agribusiness? How did that journey go from computer science and mathematics to Kisumeo Organics, which is the first ever crawfish enterprise in Kenya? Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you so much. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Robin Ndungu. I am the founder and CEO of Kisumeo Organics. We're an aquatech company from Kenya. We work with smallholder farmers, empowering them with technology to develop and create sustainable aquatic food systems. We've been developing crayfish and crustaceans value chains in Kenya and Africa. And straight to your question is, as everyone and most youths who complete campus, yes, I have the background of computer science and mathematics, but the same challenges I've faced, or the same challenges many youths are facing, is lack of job opportunities, or or probably it's not just lack of job opportunities, but they're not sufficient. So I never knew that I would become a farmer when I was in campus. Um, I had a dream of becoming a tech person, but I'm still a tech person. But through the challenges we faced about getting a job or getting employment, I found myself to the drawing board, and I asked myself, what can I do? What can I do? Just because I've lacked the opportunity doesn't mean my life needs to go to waste. And that's when actually I used the internet, and I was just scrolling on Twitter, and I just saw people who are doing farming and posting, and I'm raised from a farm. I was raised in the village, so I had some small background in farming, just subsistence farming. And yes, I took that as a motivation, and I went back to the village from campus, and I started small farming. I was doing mixed farming. Then eventually, that's what built Kisumeo to an aquaculture company, and what we are doing right now. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up question to that. From your studies, what was some of what did you learn as part of computer science and mathematics that actually you were able to transfer to your agri-enterprise? But also, what were some of the new skills that you had to learn along the way because you did not necessarily have that academic background?
I've utilized the skills that I learned in campus on my agribusiness because we have automated our hatchery. So we use technology to automate the processes of the hatchery, and that is the water monitoring systems. And those skills that I learned and about automation, about web applications, I've applied them in ensuring that our initiatives and our projects have a tech aspect in it, and that not only adds productivity, but also increases the efficiency of what we are doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So from Robert, I'm going to come to you, Dr. Ron Rosati, because he did not necessarily have an academic background in agriculture, but that is exactly what you do. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're structuring or adapting your curriculum at the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture to actually equip young people with those kind of skills to meet the demands of the agri-food sector?
So RICA is a four-year baccalaureate degree granting institution south of Kigali, about an hour and a half south of here, offering a bachelor's in conservation agriculture. And it has a somewhat unique approach to higher education. About 50% of our curriculum is applied, hands-on experiential learning. So the students spend time in laboratories and classrooms, but they also spend a lot of time actually operating farms on campus. We have smallholder farms, and we have larger commercial scale farms in dairy, poultry, swine, row crop production, and orchards, so that the students learn the technical skills that are needed to be successful in agriculture. But along with those technical skills, there's some other important skills that we focus on. We also focus on some advanced technical skills in artificial intelligence and precision agriculture, GPS, that sort of thing. Because when our students leave the institution and they go to work for a company, that company expects them to come to the company with the latest technology and bringing the latest skill set to the company. So they're not just hiring an employee, they're hiring those new skills. Mm-hmm. So we teach heavy skills, high-tech skills, and we also spend a lot of time on the soft skills. You can be the best technologist in Rwanda, but if there's an issue with ethics or time management or communication, teamwork, you're not going to be successful. So we focus a lot on the soft skills also. So it's the skills-based approach. And one last component that we put in is entrepreneurship. So we know that the businesses that our students will go work for are focused on profit, and they should be. So we teach our students agriculture in a way that will make a profit when they leave. We look at both the profit side of agriculture and the fact that agriculture is seen as a service to society, right? Agriculture is what produces the food for a country. So we want our farmers to make money, but we also want people in society in general to be able to buy food at a lower price. So we teach our students about producing a healthy, abundant, low-cost food and to make a profit doing it.
Thank you so much. That last point is indeed very important. So farming as a business, agriculture, agribusiness as a business. So I think that is definitely a point that is well taken. Ms. Janet Kem. So as the head of the UN Women Country Office in Rwanda, from your perspective, what are some of the innovative approaches that successfully bridge the skills gap for young women? Because one of the questions that we saw is that they tend to be more frequently disadvantaged compared to their male counterparts. So how are you specifically addressing that gap for young women?
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Janet Kem, the UN Women Representative in Rwanda. And I speak here as the UN Women Representative and also as an African mother. And thirdly, as a girl child brought up in an African village. So as a UN Women Representative, first we work with governments and national stakeholders to define policies, support the implementation of these policies, to transform lives for women and girls and whole communities. And for us in Rwanda, part of the work we do is on economic empowerment of women. And the focus of our economic empowerment component is women in Agrifood system, and both the young and the old. And this is in the framework of a whole joint program that we implement with FAO, with WFP, and with impart. So within the framework of this program and our work in general, first, let me say UN Women's work is really about policies, about breaking barriers that hold women and girls back, and empowering women and girls as individuals. So in this breaking of barriers, that is where we really come with the innovative and transformative approaches. One, being ensuring that women and girls get the right training to be able to integrate this Agrifood system. And who talks of a system talks of parts that assemble together. So Agrifood system is a whole system that starts from somewhere and ends somewhere. And in this whole system, you have the chains, you have areas that women and girls focus more. If we take, for example, the farm, we work with government and stakeholders to ensure that women have access to land, access to credit, and access to the resources that they require. So that is already transformation in itself. Ensuring this access means you break laws, you reform laws, you transform mindsets, you transform the stereotypes and the discriminations that women face in accessing land. I take just that example for now and more to come. And as an African girl, I have grown up in a village. I see the barriers that mothers face in going to the market, coming back from the market, going to the farm, coming back from the burden of work that they do at home, and they still service the other economic activities. I see the difficulties in accessing finances. So all of these are the areas that we now, as UN Women, work with communities, with partners like you, with research. We gather the data and use this data to inform advocacy and policy change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kim. So, Sekina, you're the president of the Rwanda Youth and Agribusiness Forum. I think given that 30 countries are represented here at the Youth Connect, not everyone knows what the RIAF for short does. So could you share a little bit with the audience what RIAF stands for, what your mission is, and how you support youth in the Agrifood system to actually gain skills, necessary skills to be able to successfully undertake their agribusinesses and agri-enterprises?
Thank you, Janita. As she said, I'm the chairperson of Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum. It's a membership-based organization. We started in 2016 in collaboration of the government of Rwanda and FAO, so that we can really hear the voice of the young people. Where is the young people in the room? Thank you. So we work across the country. We have more than 4,000 youth who are actively into agribusiness and also livestock. In each district, we have 3 representatives. Because one of the solutions you have seen is that we need to go also into rural area where agribusiness is taking place. And we, after having this district coordination, we have board, which I'm chairing, and we have also secretariat. One of the mandates of RIAF, as Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, is to change, first of all, the mindset of the young people so that we don't take agribusiness like, an odd job for old people, for things which is not concerning us. We have to take it as a business, where we move from subsidiary agribusiness to modern agribusiness. And when you talk technology nowadays, the young people are more relevant on that. And another mandate we have is also advocacy. Young people face different challenges, either access to finance, as my panelist colleagues are saying. There's issue of the skills. There's a skills gap into agribusiness where people don't know how they can be able to do it. And lastly, also, we are making sure we can connect the young people who have brilliant ideas to the relevant key stakeholders. So coming up to your question is that LIAF, one of the action intervention you have been doing, as I say, agribusiness should also be taking place in rural area. We have initiative called Rural Youth Employment Support, LISE, which in partnership with the Crimo Trust and Rwanda Polytechnic. With this program, we have been training entrepreneurs and giving the young people technical agriculture skills. We have trained over 1,000 youth. But when you look at the number, as you have shared with the survey, there's 30 million youth who are entered the labor market, which means that we still have a long way to go. And another intervention you have done is in partnership with FAO and in program called ICA, Integrated Country Approach, where we trained more than 300 youth into fit to finance. Access to finance is a big issue. And lastly, currently we are working with Hingawunguke, is USAID project, where they operate in 13 districts, and will be taking 10 young people who are actively involved into the agribusiness, and they will train them. If you are in A, you go to B. If you are B, you go to C, because you want to see action. I think this is one of the things we have been listening to. There's so much discussion, there's so much speech, there's so much commitment, but when you go to the ground, there's no solution. So this is something we really have to look at as we are doing more intervention. And if there is any intervention which have been shown as a success, it needs to be scaled, not only on Rwandan level, but also on continental. I was in Addis Ababa for World Without Hunger. We have currently more than 284 million people who are food insecure. We have young people who are here with innovation. What can we do about it? Thank you.
I think that last statement really resonated with the audience. Thank you so much for that. I think we still have some time for a few more questions. So I'm going to go back to Robin and ask him. So he's gone from getting out of school, not having a job, to starting the first ever crawfish enterprise. And I think you've also won a few awards along the way. You can mention one or two of those. So now you also employ others. So now from the perspective as an employer and the youth that you have brought on board, what are some of the skills that you see that are missing, that are relevant for the kind of work that you have employed them to do? And what would be your message in terms of the kind of new skills that we need to be giving the young people entering the labor market now?
Thank you. So one of the biggest challenges that I've seen with the youth that I work with is, I would say, many youths have the skills. They have been trained through university, they've gone through the process of colleges, but they don't have the practical skills in the job market. They have the skills that they read in school, but the real skills and the real how can I call it? Yes, exactly. The practical skills the youths need when you're doing a job, they usually lack it. And many, like some of the youths that I work with, they ask me, because I've gone through many incubators and many accelerators that have shaped how I run a business, how I manage a business, and how I handle business. So I believe one of the gaps is we need more youths to go through those processes, because when it impacts them with the skills that you just don't know how, you don't know how to run a business. You don't know how to run your role. Maybe you're a farm manager, maybe you're a supervisor, or maybe we have a tech arm, maybe you're a software engineer. You have the skills to do your specific job, but you don't have the skills to interact with your workmates. You don't have the professional skills to make your career move from one place to another. And that makes many youths stagnate, the youths who are employed, not only that, the ones I have employed, but who have been employed by other startups or other companies. So youths need these opportunities now to refine the skills that they learned in the university to the practical skills on the actual job market. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I think I'd like Dr. Ron to latch onto that statement, because he's speaking as an employer. And from the standpoint of academia and how we shape our training curriculum, how can we foster these closer linkages with industry? Because we frequently talk about the skills mismatch, and that youth are coming out of schools with skills that the industry does not want, or you don't have the skills that industry is seeking. So how can academia foster closer linkages with industry so that we can so that youth are actually coming out of these institutions with what is demanded by industry?
Thank you, Janetta, for that question. It's a critical issue. We're graduating youth that need to be valuable to industry, and that provides opportunities for employment of those youth when they graduate. So at RICA, we have a number of techniques that we employ to make sure that the education that they receive at the institution is relevant to the industries that they'll be going into. And one of those techniques is through internship. So all of our students spend 6 months as part of their academic program with an internship primarily in private sector, but some go into government and NGOs also. And in that internship, they are supervised by a faculty member, but they report to an employer that often ends up leading to permanent employment with those businesses. But they learn in the private sector what is necessary to be successful in that business. Another technique we employ is we have industry advisory councils. So we review our curriculum in each of our various discipline areas with a group of practitioners that come to campus. We tell them what we're doing in the classes. They talk to us about the interns they may have had on their farms or in their businesses. They give us advice on how to make the curriculum relevant to what they're seeing out in the industry now. And we bring in industry experts also as guest lecturers in the classroom. So we are very closely tied to the industries that we serve. We listen very closely to their needs, both their current needs and what they anticipate in the future. We try to satisfy those needs, and we bring them in to directly visit with our students and help educate the students as guest lecturers in the classroom. It's an important part of the curriculum.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So indeed, closer linkages with industry and involving them in curriculum design is key from what you have shared. Sakina, one more backup follow-up question, and that links also to what Dr. Ron has shared. As REAV, also how can you foster these linkages with other stakeholders to provide the skills that the youth, the members in your organization are looking for? Do you undertake regular surveys or capacity needs assessment to see where your members are, to see what they're still lacking, and then reach out to other partners to be able to support you in filling those skills gaps?
Yes, we have done that. As I was telling you, we are now in partnership with Hingaunguke, it's USAID project, where they're operating in 13 districts, and then we say that we need at least you take 10 youth from each district, which will be total around 130 youth, and you provide BDS services, business development services. And then to start with, we need to do a need assessment where we diagnose a company or a cooperative, we see where they are, and we can be able to provide the support, a customized support. And this also inform the financial institution outside there and other partners. If you are in the space and you are providing financing and you are not providing a package which is relevant to the youth, that is a problem. And another thing we have done is also to partner with the French Embassy, another organization called Vitagora, and National Export Development Board, NAEB, where we have been doing a peer-to-peer and mentorship program for coaching. So they facilitated us so that each member can be able to connect with the young people. I can give my own example, where I was mentoring around four youth. And then I want to give example with one lady who is called Francine. She's in Rubavu. And when we start mentorship program, she came and she was having so much ideas. She was in livestock, she was into vegetables, she was into isambaza, fishery, and everything. And from the first day, I was like, what are you doing exactly? And she had everything all over the place. And then I say, can you pick like at least the 2 or 3 things that you really want to focus on, and you can even easily get the market and also properly work on it. And then she picks to start supplying vegetables and also focus on fishery. And nowadays, she was earning around $100 per month. And she got a contract from one of the 5-star hotels in Rubavu. Currently, she's earning around 1,000, because of this training. Yeah, she has been really showing how transformation is real, and sometimes she not having skills to know how do I learn something, and she was should I employ someone? If I employ someone, they're stealing my ideas. I said, no. You have to find people who can really be able to support you, and you can to be always one step ahead. So with this support, one-to-one, it's really something which is very powerful, which I think mentorship and coaching is something that young people need if we need to bridge the skills gap that we are having.
Thank you so much, Sakina. We'll take one more contribution from Ms. Kem, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. I already have a whole list of questions that have been coming through from the audience. I think we're going to have a very lively discussion. Ms. Kem, so what role do development agencies such as UN Women, what role do development agencies such as UN Women, so you tailor your approaches. In this case, you tailor your approaches, your programs to the needs of women. But more beyond that, how can we effectively target marginalized groups, so those who are not frequently adequately targeted in different interventions, by development agencies, by governments, by other partners? How can we better serve the needs of more marginalized groups?
Yeah, thank you. One of our principles is leave no one behind. And in applying the leave no one behind principle, we actually target those women, those young people, especially young girls, that do not have access to the mainstream resources and information. One of the things we do, we have a program for rural women, and that is the program that takes us to those who are most marginalized and left behind. And our approach is to engage communities. We work from the community leaders, and we do everything to ensure that especially the decision makers, like in the districts or beyond the districts, get policies that touch on these women. I take example of the work we're doing around unpaid care, that districts are coming up to tell us, because of this training we've had, this information we have, we're going to put unpaid care as part of our accountability performance for government. So that will transform a whole district to ensure that time-saving technologies that are provided target the women that need these services most. And secondly, it's about training the TVETs we are now working with TVET's institution to ensure that not only formal education, but even informal, like we have a number of, you hear the problem of teenage pregnancy. It's a real problem, and we're talking about what happens to these girls that cannot finish school. They have the right to education, the right to be trained, and the right to transform their lives and live normal lives. So we target those ones through such programs and work closely with the Ministry of Gender, with the communities, and with the administrative units on the ground to ensure that we reach those marginalized ones. But one thing I want to say, in general for agriculture for youth, agri-food system for youth, is the change of mindset. Change the image of agri-food system so that young people see themselves in it. Let's not keep portraying the image of an old father, old mother in a village somewhere, but as one of the AU chairpersons used to say, make agriculture sexy for the youth. Give them the tools that would attract them. Give the financing, give the technology and the education that will bring more youths, especially young women, into this space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kim. So now I would like to, for once, we actually have time to take a number of questions. So I already have 36 questions that have been sent in. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to tackle them all, but I think we can go through and do a selection of questions. So I think the first one would be good for Robin to answer. So what are the 5 big challenges that a young agripreneur can and will, I like that framing, can and will face on his way during the first couple of years, and how can he or she overcome those challenges? It's a big one, but.
So one of the biggest challenges of young people getting into agribusiness is access to capital. Agriculture ventures are usually capital intensive, and many youths are usually don't have access to credit. Maybe they don't have good credit scores because they have not dealt in any financial situation. They're just right from campus or right from school. So that's one of the biggest challenges, and to address that challenge is there are so many programs that are there that ensure they train youth so that they can be bankable. Because agribusiness, as she has said, agribusiness needs to be made sexy. But what we say, it needs to be sexy and profitable. We need to show them that it's sexy and profitable. So there are many programs which are available from different partners that we have worked with and different partners that work with youths, the program they have here in Rwanda. So youths need to have more of those programs so that they are made bankable, so that their projects or their ventures that they want to take can be viable businesses. Because no one will fund you just because you have an idea. People will fund you because you have a viable idea and a practical idea. So that is the biggest challenge. The second challenge I felt personally is usually the drive. Many youths, we want quick returns. And agribusiness and agriculture takes time. If you buy a cow today, by the time you're having your first liter of milk, it will be maybe 2 years from now. And that's just one example. So we need to have the patience. We have to have the patience that if you're joining agribusiness, it's something long-term. It's not a quick a venture to get quick returns. And the other challenge I faced is you have to have that self-belief, because like every business, you have to have that self-drive and the persistence. Because if I gave up, I wouldn't have seen the fruits that I've seen after the period of time that I've done working in my company. So we need to have that self-drive. You need to be persistent. When you start something, you just don't start it and leave it. You make sure you do it to completion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. Now, there are 2 questions here that are related to the productivity of African agriculture, and by extension also what we can do to address that in order to attract young people. So I'll address that to you, Dr. Ron. The question is that African agriculture is still very low in terms of yield, so very low product. It's marked by low productivity. So what can we do? What are some of the policies and strategies we can do to address this so that the sector in turn can also be attractive to young people?
How do we increase productivity? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Well, it would depend on the agricultural enterprise, but one strategy that's been used is to form co-ops. So if an agricultural enterprise may involve a smaller entity because of lack of capital or other issues that would prevent that entity from growing large at the start, they can take advantage of economies of scale by partnering with other similar businesses to form co-ops. We have formed one of those in the foundation that has funded our college, also formed what's called the National Co-op, where we have, for example, 2,000 smallholder farmers operating 1,100 hectares of land under 67 center pivot irrigation systems. Those center pivot irrigation systems allowed them to have a very high productivity, but they couldn't afford them individually because it's too expensive for one smallholder farmer. But because there's 2,000 farmers working in a co-op, they were able to afford that new technology that would allow them to be highly productive, and as a result, increase profits significantly, increase standard of living for those farmers, produce more food for the country, a lot of positive spin-offs through collaboration among the farmers. Mm-hmm. Also, another technique for improving productivity in production agriculture would be conservation agriculture. So paying attention to soil health will minimize the need for irrigation water and increases productivity, increases profits.
Okay, thank you very much. There's another question here that I would like to address to Robin and Sakina. It is about changing the image of agriculture. So given the stigma among youth who associate agriculture with poverty and low status jobs, what can we do to change that image? Both of you are in the sector. How can we change that image? Sakina.
Okay, so for us as RIAF and also Rwanda youth who are into agribusiness, we now have initiative where you find youth. Now we have agri-influencers, so who are talking on day-to-day about agribusiness, and then they are sharing successful stories. I think one thing we have to know is that we need to create more successful stories and then create more role models. Because when you look at me, for example, I'm the chairperson of Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, but also I have my own company called Agrifood. We do export of fresh food and vegetables, and we export to Europe and Middle East. And when I started, my company started in 2019, and my inspiration was coming from Youth Connect here. So changing the mindset, I was sitting in one of the sessions here, and someone said, I want to quote them. He said, in Africa, you have land and you are hungry. What can you do about it? And as I was sitting part of the chair somewhere here, it's really tracked my head. I say, what do I need to do? And for me, I was into fashion. I didn't know anything about agribusiness. And then how do I start to change my mindset? Because as someone who is in fashion, moving to agribusiness, I didn't know anything about that. So changing mindset, I think, started with everyone sitting here as young people, and also thinking, what do I have to do? And when you look at the data, you find 60% of Arab land in Africa are not utilized. If we have started discussion with Rwandan government where they can give us the land as young people, we collectively utilize this land and make sure it can bring productivity, fighting the hunger, and all of that. So with these agri-influencers, everyone is now onto digital. How do we bring the life of good agribusiness into the language? You speak the language the young people understand, and then you show them the importance. You show them people who have made it, and then they can say, okay, if Sakina has made it, I can even make it 10 times. And this is not only in Rwanda, it can also go across Africa, because we have so many successful stories that we can learn from, but we need to create more. Thank you.
Thank you.
So changing the mindset to youth to show them that agriculture, like any other sector, it's a business. First thing is many youths assume that when you say you're a farmer or you're in agribusiness that you have the hoe. You know, you're digging with a hoe, doing something. But agribusiness, it's a whole value chain. You don't have to be the primary producer. There are aggregators. There's the value addition. There's so many opportunities along the agricultural value chains that youths can tap in. Also, technology. As he mentioned, there's a lot of technology that is being incorporated in agricultural production that enables farmers to maximize profit, increase efficiency, and many youths have these technology skills which they can employ. So agribusiness is not just going to the farm or just doing the primary production. That's just one part of agribusiness. There's a whole opportunities in the value chain, from the processors to the aggregators to the market, and also the value addition. And all these opportunities, they provide spaces where youth can tap in and take the advantage of agribusiness and the modern way we are doing agriculture.
Thank you, Robin. Staying with you, because there are two questions here on the use of technology. One is, how can emerging technologies be made accessible and affordable for young farmers? Because I think a lot of the discussions center not necessarily around how we develop these technologies, but the available ones. How can they be made accessible and affordable for the use of young farmers? And this is directly linked to how can they leverage on AI? How can they gain skills in artificial intelligence? I know you are employing it, so maybe you can already link it to your experience on how AI can be leveraged and those skills can be gained in order to be transferred to the sector.
Right now, as most sectors are depending on data, the same way agriculture depends on data. And first, how you make technology in agricultural production affordable. There are so many models like lease to own. There are models like renting the technology. And I believe this comes to also the partners in the ecosystem, in the agricultural ecosystem, so that they make these, they provide these opportunities where the youth can have technology where you have either to lease to own or you subscribe. You don't have to buy the whole technology, because it's true. Technology used in agriculture production is very expensive and many youths can't access it, but there are different models. Producers and even the owners of the technologies can incorporate so that youths can take advantage of incorporating technology in their production. About using AI, as I've said, all sectors are dependent on data right now, and with the skills, the technology skills youths have, they can mostly on analytics, because when farmers and producers in agricultural value chains, when you provide them with analytic services, they know they can make better decisions when they are making during production. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. There's one more question here, and I think it probably was asked after Sakina spoke, and that's on the issue on access to land. What can African countries do to make land more accessible to young people? Because access to land is always one of the first challenges that comes up when you talk about venturing into agribusiness.
Thank you. I want to not go far from the call to action for young people. So we were in Addis Ababa, as I said, into African Youth in Agribusiness Forum, and we attended World Without Hunger. One of the call to action we asked with African leaders and other stakeholders is to create a land bank, which is a digital land bank, where the countries on countryside, they can really map all the land which is not utilized, and then they put it like a variable on this digital land bank. And if I am a young person or cooperative, we want to see which land is available in our area. It can be easily accessible. And another thing we are asking is about improvement of policy and transparency and the fairness into the land access. In Rwanda, we have really made the biggest step where even access to land is very easy, and you can be able to collectively discuss with the government. But with other African countries, it's not the case. I was sitting with one of the young person who was saying, okay, in my country, as a woman, I cannot be able to access land. I need to get approval, and then sometimes it's not even allowed. So this is the challenges that we are still facing. But if there is a land bank, the land available is there. There is the improved policy, and also there is access to these people, young people who can be able to access it. And also another suggestion about having a youth village where they can consolidate the land, they prepare it for the young people, and then for us, you are there just to use it without incorporating the capital, which is sometimes very expensive for us.
I want to add, yes. Yes, thank you so much, Shakina, for that response. Very important for land policies to be transparent and for land laws to be enforced. But also, as Africans, we know the first access for land in rural area is through inheritance. And we're talking here about girls in families who are discriminated when landed property is being distributed. And we are calling on the policies and also on families to ensure that all children have rights to inherit landed property in their families, and because land is the basis. We're talking of agriculture. For those who don't even have money to access that land, to buy the land that is available, they need to access land through that means that is really from family. And secondly, for young girls to be audacious, because land has been something that has been seen most often as man's property. Young women don't often think of buying land. So we should be audacious, and when you have your resources, buy land. Secure your resources in landed property, because that is the basis for business, for loans, and for many other things. And one other thing I wanted to say was about the focus on breaking inequalities. Because we're talking here, and I was so looking at the questions, the preliminary questions we were answering, when there was a question about the discrimination or the gap between boys and girls in accessing resources and things like that, we saw it was around 90%. And so we all recognize that there is inequality between men and women, boys and girls' access to resources. I want us to live from here with individual commitments. That as I go back as an individual and make the commitment to start breaking inequalities from my own company, from my own home, from where I stand and from where I work. I think with that, we'll be bridging the gap and bringing boys and girls together. Thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. And these are, I'm trying to combine three similar questions. So somebody is asking, and I think this is something that is personally also resonating with me. How can somebody who has no confidence in their own abilities, because that's what they have been told, how can they inspire themselves to actually reach out and learn something and apply it? How can they get out of that mindset, that lack of confidence that is holding them back because they have been told that they have no talent and no skill? This goes to the entire panel. I think you can all address that from your various perspectives.
That's a good question. And I think when I was looking about the event which was happening here, some of the session was about public speaking. It was about brood your confidence. And one of the speakers, I think yesterday, said, confidence comes with the competence. So if you're really looking forward to be into a space, first of all, you should not listen to the negative side, because there's so many people who come, you can't make it, you can't do it, you're not in that space. But there's some people who even have less privilege, even less skills than you, and who have made it. So first of all is to build your competence, and second of all is what I will argue for the other African countries is also to have a platform like the YAF, Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, and where you find the young people can have their own space. where we can brood our voice together and support each other. This is one thing. And if there's no such platform in your country, you can also try to see where you go into sector groups, where you find someone who have done it and then you look up to them. I think this will also be something. And another lastly is about mentorship and coaching program, which has to be for the private sector and also for the other stakeholders to really have more platform that will empower other young people, either peer-to-peer mentorship, and this will help these young people who don't know they belong, but actually they really do belong, and we need them to be able to take the action. Thank you.
Okay.
Ron.
Those are some great recommendations, and I would hope our higher education institutions provide that kind of environment. We should be providing a low-risk environment where people can try, and if they fail once in a while, it's not a big problem. We just try again. A supportive environment, and an environment where people can take risks and not worry about the consequences. And then we start having some successes, and we feel good about those successes, and we can try bigger and bigger endeavors. So looking for low-risk, supportive environments.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to pick on the enabling environment, starting from home, especially in the home. So many of our children are lacking self-confidence just because of the environment at home. We keep reinforcing the negatives in children. So from the home, let's bring up children to be valued and to be valuable. And secondly, to young people, I just want to tell you a little bit about self-concept. I want to call on all of you to have confidence in yourself. The self is the only instrument we have that we can develop, we can use, we can turn it the way we want. So yourself is important, and have that self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, self-awareness, self-education, and above all, self-love. And I will end on self-love because so many youths are losing love in themselves. So many of our children are suffering of depression, complaining of depression. That is because you've lost your self-love. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. Thank you.
Well said.
I believe that that is an issue that I've seen with so many people, with my friends. And what I can say is just don't allow anyone to tell you you're not enough. You're enough. You're enough and you're enough. And I told myself, because I told myself that I'm enough and I'm enough, You're alive and you're enough. And that's where the confidence comes from. Good. You're enough. You don't need validation from anyone. You don't need validation from your parents. You don't need validation from your teachers. Your validation is you. You being alive, that's the validation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the conversation could definitely keep on going, but unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up here. We're almost out of time. But in closing, I'd like to ask each one of you in 10 seconds to give just one policy recommendation to government that governments can adopt so that we can actually improve the skills development, the capacity development of youth to succeed in the agri-food system.
The first policy recommendation goes to the government, where the vacation training can be also private read, where the curriculum is relevant to what the market needs, and also creating a platform where young people can access information. Information is the key.
I would ask the government to hold us accountable in higher education. Have some measurable outcomes for institutions and measure those and publish that information. I've seen some governments that have had the Ministry of Finance work with the Ministry of Education, and they track students through their national ID number from when they graduate to when they start getting jobs. Then they look at their tax returns, see who is employed, how much money do they make, and then they correlate that back to the institution. Some graduates make more, they have higher employment, and so it's a way of holding institutions accountable.
Thank you. For me, it's about investment. Investing in technologies that will facilitate agri-food system for young people, investing in areas that will facilitate women to get into agri-food system and stay. Like most women are on the market. How friendly are the markets for women and children? Thank you.
I would say that provide the infrastructure, the youths have the skills, the youths have the will, and they have the drive. Just provide the infrastructure, and the youth will do the work. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so very much. This was absolutely fascinating. Can we please give the panelists another round of applause? I think they all did an astounding job of speaking from their various perspectives. Thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of the panel discussion, and now we will have to wrap it up. And I would like to give the floor to Dr. Nomathemba Mhlanga, who's the Agribusiness Officer for Eastern Africa of the Food and Agriculture Organization, and also the FAO Country Representative ad interim for FAO Rwanda.
So we can leave.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good that you're still with us. And thank you very much for staying with us in this very interesting conversation that we've had. I would like to thank my sister, Ms. Janet Kem, the UN Women Country Rep. Together we co-created this session on youth perspectives for inclusive agri-food systems in Africa. Today's conversation underscores the profound reality that Africa's future will be largely shaped by the opportunities and support that we provide to our youth. I think as you heard from their parting shots, they really gave some concrete actions that need to be taken by the youth themselves, by the governments, as well as development partners on how we can move this forward. And I was actually also inspired by what one of the speakers said, that it was in a forum like this one that she actually became an agripreneur. So today, let me give you another statistic. There is the statistic which is true about the hungry in the world, and that's still a challenge for us to address. But I also want here, especially for our continent, to give us another statistics. A statistic that says that within the agri-food sector in Africa, we will have a growth to US 1 trillion by 2030. That's in 5 years' time. And for me, I think this spells out the opportunities that exist within the agri-food system. And I hope that someone sitting here will take the challenge of tapping into this growing sector and actually be sharing their story next year or the years to come. But that said, we also see that there are still challenges that exist with skilling the youth to be able to tap into this potential of the agribusiness, of the agri-food system sector. The panelists were able to offer us some of the action that needs to be taken, and as we could see, this needs to be at multiple levels, starting from the institutions such as RICA, how they are tapping into modern ways and revising their curricula to actually be fit for the industry. I would say, we say fit for finance, but also skilling the youth to be fit for the market. We also have an array of other skills development programs, including technical and vocational training, incubation, entrepreneurship training, and all this to say skilling approaches must respond to the current and future needs of the labor market and the agri-food sector. They must also ensure inclusivity. We heard about the discrepancies between young women and girls, young women and men, and therefore we need to tailor our skilling approaches for the heterogeneity within the youth. Taking also the differently abled people into consideration is key to leaving no one behind, as also was mentioned by my sister, Kem. So in concluding, I want to reiterate that FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, remains deeply committed to this mission. Across the continent, we are collaborating with development partners, government institutions, academic institutions, training centers, the private sector, to really transform our agri-food systems in Africa. And we are paying attention to this skills gap. In the coming months and years, let us strengthen our collaborative resolve to ensure that Africa's young people are at the heart of our agri-food systems. This requires that we continue investing in them, we continue partnering, and we scale what we've done. We have a number of youth initiatives. Let's take those to scale. And I believe together we can address the gaps that remain to foster resilience and prosperity for the generations to come. Let me also express my sincere gratitude to each and everyone in this room for really, for your contributions and the commitment. We were not able to hear from some of you about what you're doing in this space, but we really appreciate what you're doing. And I would also like to express my gratitude to the Youth Connect Africa Hub, because this is the third year they've given us space to actually talk about one of what I believe is the greatest sector in Africa, which is the agri-food sector. Therefore, FAO is committed to continue bringing this to light and showcasing not only youth that are doing it, making it in this sector, but also what policies and what governments and partners are doing to really move forward agri-food systems transformation. Thank you and have a good afternoon.